UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host for today, Brandon Shea Mutella, and joining me, as always, is my ever-constant co-host, Chrissie. Chrissie, how are your math equations going in your head today?
I'm always impressed when people can do math in their head. That's something I never could do past about basic division, so, yeah.
Excellent. Well, today we're doing something special for you. We are going to recite for you the golden ratio, one number at a time. Are you ready, Chrissie?
Oh, you guys have fun with that.
Okay. 1.
Let me pull it up on the computer here. 2.
Unfortunately, Thad is away today. He is off sailing the ocean blue with many dear Star Trek friends on the Star Trek cruise, and we are not jealous at all.
Nope.
I did, however, hire somebody to go and slash his tires while he's away on the boat. So, just to, kind of I got to get a little even with him, Is that okay, Chrissie?
I did not hear anything you said. I know nothing about this.
Okay, good. Right on. Excellent. But today we do have a special guest joining us. Returning is a special guest that we had last discussing some Lower Decks and Tom Paris. We have Caleb Dorsch. Welcome to Infinite Diversity again. Caleb, how are you doing?
You got my name wrong. I thought I was John Hait, the transporter clone of Thad. That's what happened, right? This is still a Lower Decks podcast?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
it's
okay,
still
good.
Lower Decks. We're going to talk
perfect.
Lower Decks today.
No, I'm good though. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back.
Awesome. Excellent. Right on. So, Caleb, how have you been enjoying season 4 of Discovery so far?
Overall, it's been pretty consistent. I've enjoyed it a lot. I think the pacing this second half of the season's been a little slow, especially with the 10C plot dragging. But I like everything that they're doing within each episode. It's just the overarching plot that's a little slow for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. Right on. Well, before we jump into our topic for the day, we would like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make our show possible, particularly our associate producers, David Willett and Justin Oser. Thank you so much, guys. Listeners, we'd love to add your name to this list, and we can do that with your monthly subscription of just $10 a month at patreon.com/UFPEarth. Now, let's jump into some news here. So we'll start off with some sad news here. So Sally Kellerman, who was in Where No Man Has Gone Before, the second pilot of the original Star Trek series, has passed away at the age of 84. And I think I saw something interesting there, that it's interesting that we crossed the Galactic Barrier in Star Trek on the day that Sally Kellerman passed away. So, I'm glad I got to meet Sally Kellerman a few years ago in Vegas, and I got her autograph because Where No Man Has Gone Before is my favorite episode of the original Star Trek. So, Caleb, did you have any words you wanted to say about Sally Kellerman? Anything on this?
I love that episode too. It's a good episode. I actually did a TOS rewatch recently, so that one is still pretty fresh in my mind. So, yeah, it's really sad to lose an original series member. I know it was just one episode, but yeah, still pretty sad.
Yeah, Chrissie?
Yeah, I mean it's sad. I tend to think of 84 as that's a good long life as things go, but my father's 80th birthday is this year, so I'm not feeling that as much as I used to. But yeah, I mean the character was wonderful. Helped to sell the show. You can't you can't minimize that, and then. People were talking about how she was in MASH, and I was confused because I was thinking the TV show, but she was in the movie. And I was like, I never knew it was the same. But yeah. So that's it. Also, people, if you haven't seen MASH, the movie, it's good. It's darker than the TV show, but it's supposed to be. So watch it after you're done listening to us.
Yes. Excellent. Awesome. Well, some more news that we have is Lower Decks is going to have a phone game released later this year. So I think this is kind of interesting, but it seems like the kind of game that would be intriguing for like mobile users. Chrissy, did you read into what type of game this is? How does this game work? Do you know?
I guess from what they said, it's going to be like you are the Lower Decks crew and you're working to stop Badgie from taking over the universe. So how that's going to fall out, I don't know. If it's going to be like a strategy style game, or if it's going to be like some other type of casual game. I'm not sure yet. I don't think they said anything about that, but I'm looking forward to it because I need more reasons to put money into my phone.
I would guess it's probably going to be a side-scrolling game.
I would love that.
You going to buy this game, Caleb?
I might. I am pretty addicted to all of the phone games that I have. That's actually like the main gaming I do because I don't have time for anything else. And now I'm just like, oh, good. Right. Another thing to just suck me in my phone for hours on end. Just what I need.
Do you play Timelines?
I do not play Timelines, but...
No, I used to play Timelines.
I definitely would like to get into some of the Star Trek games that they have on there. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, I don't. I play a lot of like puzzle games on my iPad when I need something to do at work. So I probably won't get this, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll see what some reviews are like, and we'll see what happens and how it plays out and what kind of game it is. So
yeah,
I don't have a cell phone. I just have my iPad. So we'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah, sometimes they're not compatible with the bigger screen, which never makes sense to me, but.
One more thing in news here. So we had an announcement here that apparently none of the stars knew that there was a fourth movie coming out that was just announced here. And, I mean, this is par for the course with Paramount, I guess, now, too, with this Star Trek franchise. And I'm even less confident now that this movie's coming out.
Yeah.
So, because now all of these actors have got a gigantic leverage piece for negotiating their contracts. You've announced this movie, now I want double the salary. So now that I know about it, I'm just going to ask for double the salary because you've already stuck your foot in your mouth. So good job, Paramount. So good job on that one. So, yeah.
Yeah, as if they weren't going to have to pay Chris Pine considerably more because of the Wonder Woman movies and the other stuff he's done. And, Zoe Saldana's part of the Marvelverse now, so that's even more money they were going to have to pay her. And then if they were going to the idea of having the George Kirk story, which goes, back from 5 or whatever years ago, then that's another that they have to pay a lot. So, yeah.
Caleb, what do you think of this news?
Yeah, not only that, I'm also thinking about just the scheduling aspect because JJ said they were trying to go to cameras sometime in the early fall, right? So now everyone clear your slates because you got to report to work in 6 months. Let's go.
Yeah, this is not happening. This movie is not coming. So,
no.
Yeah, well, so 14th time's a charm, I guess, next time. So we'll see what happens the next announcement here. So, because we've had a lot of announcements over the last 8 years. So, yeah.
Maybe it's going to be animated.
True, that'd be interesting. We're probably going to get Section 31 before we get another Kelvin movie.
I'm okay with that.
I'm starting to doubt. I'm starting to doubt Section 31's coming, but I'm hopeful in that one still too. So we'll see what happens.
It will.
So, anywho, okay, so that's all we got for news today. Not much happy news there, except for the game, I guess, the Lower Decks game coming out. Let's jump into our discussion on the Discovery episode, The Galactic Barrier. Caleb, can you please give us your initial thoughts and first impressions?
This one was a top 3 on the season for me. I really liked it from start to finish, yeah.
Chrissy?
Cool. I'm not going to go that far. I thought it was pretty good. I am in agreement with a lot of the people that I've seen talking online saying, enough already. Can we please get on with the story? Although I thought this had some really good elements, the character, little moments of character development, like Stamets trying to go overboard, taking care of Adira because we find out his father was not good with that. So I liked that. And then there's the whole Saru Tarina thing. And finding out about Oros, finding out about Tarka's friend, that was big.
So I'm a little bit less positive on this one here. I'm sure that I'm going to like this more on a rewatch, but my first watch of this episode, I hate everything about this episode, and I'm so annoyed with this episode, and I'm so annoyed with the back half of the season. I would be content right now to stop watching season 4 of Discovery. I'm just so fed up with this show right now. Like, I'm just done with it. Like, they're just dragging this on too long, and the only thing that gives me hope out of this is, like, maybe next season when they go to season 5 with 10 episodes, it'll be more tight. But they're just filling this season up. And I mean, first impressions, I could not possibly care less about Oros and Tarka's backstory. I just don't care. So that's where I'm coming into this. That's my negativity right off the bat. I will do my best to be positive for the rest of this for the audience here, so I will try not to be as negative. But right now, I'm just done with this season. So there's some good stuff in here, and I'm sure I'm going to like it more on a rewatch. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
I feel that. I think had this episode come last week in place of Rubicon, it would have done a lot better. If we had cut Rubicon from this whole equation, I thought probably would have been okay with it. But
yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking with somebody. Somebody had mentioned that they thought that episode 11 was going to be the last episode of the DMA arc. There was, just based on what we saw and with the schedule and whatnot, they thought possibly we'd be getting 2 more episodes later on in the year as some finale, but I don't think that's happening now. I think unfortunately we're going to be forced to slog through 3 more episodes of this season here, of this storyline. So, and I actually saw a preview for next week's episode. There was some...
I haven't seen that yet.
I saw a link somewhere for it, and I'm just it just looks like more of the same, so I don't know. But I won't tell you what I saw, so I'll just leave it at that. So let's jump into some talk here. So what is Kovich doing that's more important, and then how or why is Bryce involved? What do you think of this here, Caleb?
So I do have a theory for this. I picked up on that, and I actually had no idea what he possibly could be working on the first time I watched through, but when I rewatched today, this is kind of predictable, in terms of a writing standpoint, but I think that Kovich is actually trying to find Oros, or knows where Oros is, and is going to use that, because that's really the singular motivation at this point for Tarka to continue with, trying to take down 10C and the DMA. So if he is able to find Oros, I don't think Oros ever really traveled to multiverse, but even if he did, Kovich is the one person who is familiar with multiverses, so he'd be the one person to kind of scope that out, figure out where Oros is, bring him back, and get Tarka to stand down.
So why do you think that Kovich would know about Oros?
That is a good question. That I don't know, but that might be what he's trying to research, to figure out why is Tarka so bent on doing this.
Because I got the impression that this is the first time Tarka's spoken of Oros to anybody. I got some serious hard time vibes off of this episode here. Mm-hmm. So, the Deep Space Nine episode where O'Brien was forced to live out that 20 or 40 year sentence.
20, I think.
20-year sentence in his head there, so I got some vibes of that in this episode here.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, in But to Connect, he did briefly mention that he was looking for a friend that he was imprisoned with. So I don't know if it's necessarily the first time he's talked about it, but it is the first time he's told the whole story.
Yeah.
And he does come back every year, is the one thing he said. So however long he's been freed from the Emerald Chain, whoever he's working with the Federation, they have to know that he, goes on a vacation, I guess, every year to wherever this Emerald Chain planet is, right? I mean, if he's working there to help with the spore drive and whatnot, that's kind of where my idea came from there. So,
I think he said it's been 10 years since he escaped in the episode. I think it's been 10 years since he was in the Emerald Chain camp there. So, Chrissy, what do you think's going on here?
I'm not sure. I put this on the outline because I was like, this is kind of just this weird thing that they've dropped, it feels like, so that they can pick it up later. And so Bryce is working with him with the translation thing, and I get that, but I don't think that is the thing that he was talking about when he was asked what could be more important than this, and he says, I hope you don't have to find out. That's not translation. That's not trying to get first contact with 10C. That's something else. Who knows? Maybe this is where Section 31 will show up.
Maybe.
But I doubt it. So I have no idea on this one. It could be anything. It hadn't occurred to me that he might know what Tarka's background is and have some reason to look into that. And he seems to know everything, so I would not be surprised if he was aware of that. You know, Tarka's background is... He's on record with things somewhere. I'm sure there's some computer record that says he worked with Oros, you know, at X time, at X place, and this is what they were working on. So I wouldn't be surprised if he knew that. Who knows?
It could have been something, too, like when they activated the transporter for the first time, like it registered in some way on his sensors or whatever. Like, I don't know. We're still assuming he's Section 31 or whatever. We don't know what he is, right? But let's just say Section 31 sensors for the sake of argument here.
Yeah.
Just to, they could have registered it somehow, so they could, and that's how we got some information on it. Yeah. So, I want to know, like, so Bryce leaving is kind of a surprise to me. Like, I didn't know Bryce was working with Kovich at any point. Like, is this new or was this mentioned at some point? Where is he going and like why is he leaving?
I knew he was on assignment in Kobayashi Maru because there was a brief little scene after the inauguration for whatever the new cadet class, and so he briefly mentioned that he was working on I think it was a communications project of sorts. So they didn't explicitly say it was with Kovich, but they did say he was doing something. But I know the actor Ronnie Rowe is on another show. Actively filming, and so I think that's part of why he's been in and out, and that's why Lieutenant Christopher is here, because he's been kind of phasing in and out of that as well.
Do you know what show he's on?
Ooh, I don't remember.
I don't know. I hadn't heard this, so that's okay. So, yeah, because I was kind of surprised to see this because it's like, you know, with Tilly going and now Bryce is going, you know, like it's just we're losing characters that we've had from the beginning here, you know. And I mean, they brought in Gray, and then Gray's gone. You know, it's just like there's this weird state of transition that's going on in the show too. Like this, it just feels like the show is in flux right now.
Yeah, and like they don't know what to do with themselves.
And I almost wonder how much of that is because of COVID protocol. Like, how many people were they able to have within each bubble? And, like, when they created the different bubbles, they have, like, the main bubble and then the secondary bubble. And so, like, some of these secondary characters are probably in that secondary bubble. And there was a COVID hit at one point, right? I wonder if they had to rewrite anything just because they had to shut down for, you know, a couple of weeks when one of the bubbles burst.
I think that the COVID... on set happened like really early on, like super early on in production, if I remember correctly. And I'm like, the show is feeling very different right now as well. So I'm wondering if this was at a point like when a lot of the restrictions in Canada had been lifted last year when they were filming, because the start of the season was a lot of small bubbles of people. And the show had a really unique feel to it at that time, and I was really loving what was going on at the start of the season when they were just focusing on a couple people at a time, long dialogue scenes and whatnot, and we're not getting that now, and I really missed that. And I think, you know, now that we're talking this out, I think this is what I'm really missing about the season, is that we don't have what we had at the start of the season that I was loving so much. You know, and this is now just turned into... just the discovery that we had in season 1 and season 2 and whatnot. So, I don't know. I guess I'm longing for what we had at the start of the season for tone.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, it does feel like they're kind of killing time with some of the story. They're stretching it out. And I feel like, I have to wonder if maybe they were figuring on getting out of the 13 episode that Netflix required because of everything that was going on with Paramount Plus. And couldn't get out of it, although that seems like they just would have had to throw money at it. I don't know. Yeah, but it does. They feel like filler episodes like you got in the 90s, except instead of it being just a fun one-off story, they're just dragging it out.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing, too, this goes back to when Kurtzman was talking about all the PPE they had to secure for filming, and I think he said it was something like $1 to $2 million per episode extra just for... PPE and COVID protocol. And if you're already spending $7 million per episode, right? That's another times 13 episodes. That's another 26 million you're spending on your season just to keep everyone safe, which is wild. That's such a massive number. And I'm wondering if some of these later episodes they've decreased the amount of people they needed on set in order to keep costs down. But I think there was still some good dialogue, at least in this episode, notably with, I know we'll talk about it later, but with Rillick and Burnham. I really like the closure they kind of arrived at, because they started off really bumpy at the beginning of the season, and they were kind of able to work through all of that. But you're right, there was not a lot of extended dialogue like we had earlier in the season. That's true.
Well, let's stay for now on Tarka and Oros here. So I'm surprised by something here, because obviously it was a misunderstanding on my part, but I was under the impression that Oros was from this other dimension or wherever, and that doesn't seem to be the case now.
Yeah, I wasn't sure on that. I can see where you would think that, and I wouldn't have been surprised that he was. But yeah, it's interesting.
It seems like this other universe or whatever that they're trying to get to is like his species, Oros's species version of like heaven. It's like, it's not even, is it actually a real place? Are they, I mean, I guess if they have coordinates they can latch on to, I guess it is. But I had a feeling that Oros was from this timeline, in this universe, but I'm curious as to how his species may have had connections to other timelines, and that part is kind of weird to me.
Well, I think the interesting thing here is, so he calls it Kaialis, which translates as home. Some other places, though, they call it Shakari.
Yes.
So, and other places call it heaven, the Garden of Eden. So, what if we get God? What if 10C is really just God's head from Star Trek V?
So I thought of this when I was watching it, because not particularly that, but the whole idea of seeking the perfection, seeking heaven, and how that fits into like the entirety of Trek and the ideas behind it, and then somebody posted on Twitter, forgive me, I don't know who it was, something about I only wish it had been the Great Barrier, and then Burnham could have run into her adoptive half brother. With God. Yes. With the God being.
That had been the center, yeah.
That was funny.
Because, I don't know, that's what I totally thought. As soon as I heard him describing what this Kaialis was, I'm like, this sounds like Star Trek V. Now, I know that in Star Trek V it was the center of the galaxy rather than the edge of the galaxy. I know it's the opposite. But still, that's totally what I was thinking of when I heard him talking about it here. A place beyond suffering and whatnot. Like, it sounds like he's describing heaven, right? So, an afterlife or whatever. I don't know.
So when Tarka was talking about this in the previous episode, whenever it was that we got introduced to this information, I really thought this is like a real thing. Like you said that Oros was from a different timeline or different multiverse or something like that, different part of the multiverse. After this episode, I don't think it is. I think he was taking
What do you think it is?
I think he was just taking a shot on hoping to get to some place where he wasn't enslaved. I think it's just, anywhere's better than here. I'm going to open up a multidimensional gateway and go there.
Okay.
So, was he lying about it? Was that paradise to him, comparatively speaking? I don't think he was intentionally lying about it. Or maybe he was working off of myth, and combining that with this tech, but I'm not sure this was a real place now. Well,
Oros says that I think he said in the episode that they believe, his species believes that this is a physical place, right? That he described. So, like the impression that I got from the episode is like Oros is like on the level. Like everything Oros said is on the up and up. That's my interpretation of the episode. What do you think about that, Caleb?
Yeah, that's a good question. I like Oros. I like everything that they introduced with him. I still feel like we may not know enough, and there still might be more that Tarka will reveal at some point. Yeah. But again, if Kovich knows more, that's a way they could kind of bring those together. Yeah, no, I definitely feel like it is a physical place, but I don't know how much of a heaven-like thing it actually is, or if that's what they're trying to go for.
I didn't mean like he was intentionally lying about it. I meant it reminded me of some of the slave narratives and the narratives of escape from the American South, and how you have these pieces of information that are a way to get out of slavery, but you might not have good information. You might have information that's out of date, or you might have information that's not necessarily entirely correct, not through anybody's fault, but just because of the telephone game effect. So I don't think he was lying. I think he might have had a little more wishful thinking and really convinced himself of it.
Could be, yeah. It'd be interesting to see where they find him and whatnot.
Because
I'm assuming at some point, I bet you at the end of this, it's going to end up being that, yeah, he didn't go to another galaxy. Maybe he's in with the 10C or whatnot. I hope this doesn't turn into, he's the origin of the 10C and he's really mad at Tarka and, that's why he's doing this now is because he's had time to, get all bitter and whatnot because he went back in time. Or, I'm just coming up with something ridiculous here, right? But I just hope that this doesn't turn that, Oros ends up being the bad guy for this season or something like that.
Not so ridiculous, because when we did find out about Oros, we didn't know his name yet at the time, one of my thoughts was that the DMA, was Oros trying to get back here to find Tarka. And now we know it's just sucking up energy, but it still could be that.
I don't think Oros is involved with 10C at all. I mean, my personal theory about 10C is a book theory. You may have seen my my theory on Twitter at some point, but I am not currently on Twitter, so please elaborate.
I don't recall, and our listeners might not be. So, what was your theory?
So, my theory is that, and this goes back to what was the episode? It was the episode where they first showed the bubble around 10C. Is that, hold on,
early on in the season? You mean?
No.
Recently?
It was recently. It was either in, I think it was in All In.
Okay.
Was it at the end of All In? Yeah. At the end of All In, when Stamets is going... When they first figure out that DMA is a mining tool, right? And that they're mining boronite,
that's All In.
right?
Yeah.
Well, the boronite is tied to a omega molecule, and so the omega molecule made me think it was the Kaliar, because it's a new species that we have not covered yet in Star Trek, but it has been in the books. And that's the species from the Destiny trilogy. And they are also pacifistic by nature, which is really interesting if, Burnham turns out to be right the whole time, that this is a first contact and we have to be delicate and, help them understand what we are and why we are, rather than some just omnipotent and evil set of beings that are trying to destroy the galaxy, So... For me, it's I think it's been them from the beginning, but I don't know. It's it might be a stretch, but they pulled some stuff from the books already and made it canon, at least recently with Prodigy. There were a couple of things that they pulled. Obviously, Rothacher is from the New Frontier, the New Frontier books, right? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's an interesting theory, but I don't know if they'd pull something that big from the books, because the Kaliar is this whole thing in the Destiny trilogy, right? It's the end of the Borg and whatnot. They're the beginning and the end and whatnot. Yeah, I suppose. But I don't. That's an interesting thought. I just don't think that they're going to go that way. But I do agree that this is just going to end up being a first contact mission at the end. I don't know. I really hope that it's not malice and it's just miscommunication. Because, I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for that. That's what Star Trek is to me, is fear and misunderstanding. We need to overcome that and just talk to people, right? Because that's the problem in society, is people don't talk to each other. They just spew and don't listen, and they assume bad intent and get offended and upset, right? And that's not how communication works. And so, that's a lot of what's going on here. And that's Star Trek at its core. That's Star Trek at its best. And so I hope that's where we end up when we get to the end of the season. If we ever get to the end of the season. I don't know, 3 weeks, man. It's going to be a long 3 weeks here. So.
Well, Brandon, on that note, one thing I did write down about this episode that I really liked was the similarities between Book and Burnham and how they were feeling in these situations. There's a line from Book about when he starts talking about his father and how, I don't want to ever be in the position not to have the power to do something about evil things that are happening. And then when Burnham's talking to Rillick, what did I write down? It was she was talking about control. We're both here in a spot without the ability to control, and when you don't have control, especially in a position of leadership, right? You have to start. You go through all these different feelings. It's like she was in the anger stage, right? And so I think they both had very similar thematic elements, at least in their storylines this week, and I thought that was cool, but kind of reminding us that yes, this is what's coming with 10C, and that we're supposed to care less about who 10C is and care more about how we approach them. So
yeah. I think it would be interesting, just on a totally speculative note, that if 10C didn't even realize we were there, they're just like, oh, these ants got in the way of our project. The way we might react to say, oh, we're trying to build a dam on a river and these beavers already built a dam, so we're going to move it. And we don't care, And I think that would be an interesting place to go, because that's something we haven't really seen. That intelligent life would not recognize the Federation as fellow intelligent life. We've had the holographic, what did they call themselves? The photonic life on Voyager, but they were able to deal with that, and I think it would be interesting to go that way. And I think if they wanted to go with the Kaliar, that actually wouldn't be a bad way to go, because you recall they were super isolationist, and they did not want to recognize anybody else. Not that they didn't recognize their sentience, but they just didn't want to deal with it.
And on top of that, their whole goal was to find something that was higher order than them.
Yes. Yeah.
And so anything that isn't at least on par with them is below them, right? So why would they waste their time with it?
Yeah. See, I know that there's something in Star Trek that this is just tickling my memories on that I can't quite place, of an example where some alien or something was destroying people, and we had to convince them that we were actually sentient. And I know that Star Trek the Motion Picture is another example of it, because they had to convince the Ilea probe that they were beings and whatnot. But there's something else that it's tickling my memory on, and I just can't place it. I don't know why, but there's something on the edge of my memory here.
Not Devil in the Dark. I mean, that would be the opposite.
No, not Devil in the Dark. That's the opposite, where we realize that they're just protecting themselves. So I wish I could. It's been tickling my memories all season long here, and I just can't quite place it. So
Listeners?
I don't know why. It's too vague for me to even do a search for it, right? So
do you have it narrowed down to a series particularly?
No, I don't. It could even just be a novel, right? Like a book that I read so long ago, right? A Trek novel. So it might not even be an episode.
The first Discovery novel was like that, right?
Was it
the David Mack one? What was that?
Was it Extreme Measures?
Or Drastic Measures? No, Drastic Measures was the one before that, or the second one. I'm blanking on the main. They had very similar names, but yes, no, it was the one where Spock and Burnham, they had this probe that was destroying the entire mining colony, and they had to infiltrate the probe and then try to reason with it, and it was an old AI that had been pre-programmed from a very long time ago or something like that. They're actually Desperate Hours. And actually, on that note, that does remind me. There's a TOS episode. It was in the third season where Kirk has to reason with the computers. Kirk reasons with computers all the time. Right.
You just narrowed it down to 80 episodes
of the original series.
Dang, no. What is it? It's I'll find it. But that was one of the ones I was.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, Brandon, you're reminding me of Riker asking Data to do a search for somebody having a shower in their clothes.
Yeah. Look for the shower and the clothes thing for me, okay? Oh, yeah, that's right. The old Enterprise.
Yeah.
So I want to ask about Book here for a second here. So there's a couple things here. I was surprised to hear that Burnham is mad at Book because she knows that it's not Book that did that.
Does she?
She was, well, I mean, like, she was pretty strong on defending Book the whole time last episode, right? Mm-hmm. Like, she's like, oh, they're firing on us, but it's not Book. Mm-hmm. They're doing this, but it's not Book. They're doing this, but it's not Book. We're doing this, but it's not Book. Like, you know, like the whole episode was her saying, it's definitely not Book because Book's good. And now all of a sudden she's angry at Book.
What bothers me, and I don't remember, maybe I'm forgetting something at the end of the previous episode, why do they not have Book and Tarka in custody?
Because they were supposed to volunteer the information, or volunteer to stop.
That's right. Discovery jumped away before. That's right.
They had to jump away.
Brain fart. So, sorry.
No worries. But the other thing is,
she may not know that Book didn't do. I mean, I don't recall. Of course, we've just proven my memory's not good with this, but I don't recall like Book saying to her over the comm, like, "Hey, that wasn't me." So she may not know.
But she's face to face with Book, mm-hmm. and Book's like, "Yes, we'll stand down for a week." Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden something gets fired. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't buy that she's suddenly going to be like, you know what? That frickin' Book, it was definitely Book this time, and now I'm real mad at him. I just gave him those 4, but this time it's him, and I'm just mad at him now. I don't know. Like, that's just really, really weird for me.
Circumstance.
Yeah. I think she might just be angry at the situation in general because she knows who he is, and he does have the power to stop it, but he's... And that was part of what was going on in Rubicon, is she actually was able to talk him down, and she thought she was successful. Right. And so I don't think she thinks that Book's the one that fired, because like they came to a compromise there, and that was, he did stand down. And then it was as she was going back to Discovery, something got fired, and that just seems not like something that would be in his character to do. So I don't think she's blaming him on it at all. She can still be angry at him, though, for the situation.
Yeah.
Right, so why is she angry at him at the end of this episode now?
Because he facilitated the whole thing. If he had not allowed his ship to be, set up with the experimental spore drive, then Tarka would have had a harder time, if not been able to at all, getting there. Mm-hmm. So he's what's the legal term? Aiding and abetting?
Okay.
That, and now that they've discovered that the DMA is churning at a faster rate. Like it ups the ante for them in a way that they really don't want, because now, right, they have to jump to the Galactic Barrier and try and push through with these new shield modifications that haven't been tested, and like and now you've got all these delegates on board that you had to kind of just swipe up and say, we're going. It doesn't matter if you're the one that was supposed to go, you're going. Like. You know, it is a high stress environment, I think, and so I would be angry at that. It's like, oh great, I got the bottom of the barrel. Let's use what we got and go. You know, doesn't put me at good odds there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's jump in and talk about the president joining the mission here. Chrissy, thoughts on this plot element here?
We just got Burnham to figure out that the captain shouldn't go on the away team, and now the president's joining them. I understand why, but, there's a bit of irony there.
Yeah.
It's also she is the type of person who doesn't know how to delegate. I think we've discussed this before. And that is not good in a president. That's not good in a leader. You need to be able to delegate. And... they could have made it not as personal for her by just saying, oh, the top Federation ambassador that I wanted to send on this hasn't gotten here yet and no one else is available. That line, something akin to that, would have made it so that she wasn't being, what's the word I'm looking for? Is she wasn't being insistent that it was her as opposed to anyone else.
Yeah, I agree. I think the way they justified it made her seem really self-important in a way that's not like desirable for people in leadership. But I think by the end of the episode, starting her off in that place, though, by the end of the episode, she does realize why Burnham wants to like tell the crew about the updated transmission, right? And then like that whole exchange, I think, pays off well. But that at the cost of that initial like, oh, we're going on this this 3-hour tour, have fun, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's how you get Tarina on there. So why wouldn't it be the same? Why couldn't it be the same?
Yeah. That I don't know. That would have made sense too. So, I don't know. I didn't have as much problem with that because of the fact that she says I was the top diplomat for a long time, and this is kind of one of those things where, like, it made me think of Kirk wanting to go in motion picture, right? Where he's the captain with the most experience. I understand he wasn't experienced with the ship, right? And I realized that Kirk made a selfish decision in the motion picture, but I still think that it's the right decision for Kirk to have gone on that mission in the motion picture, right? As you know, because he is the person that's experienced the most with the unknown. And so when it comes to diplomacy, I mean, there hasn't been a lot of people dealing with diplomacy over the last 100 and some years because of the burn, right? So they're definitely going to need to send their most experienced. And I mean, I guess that what kind of experience has she had if they can't even interact with anybody over the last 100 and some years because nobody's around? So, you know, it's kind of an interesting situation that the Federation is in to be able to send her. So, but the fact that she's like, look, I'm transferring all power to the Vice President means that she realizes she may not come back from this mission, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So which is fair. So,
I thought for a moment that was going to end up being Kovich. Too easy.
That was the
Too
Vice
easy.
President.
Yeah.
He's Section 31 and the Vice President.
I don't think he's actually Section 31. I know I've said that
Yes,
he's
you
akin
do.
to, but
and future guy all at one. Come on.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's older future guy.
He's older
He's
future
older.
guy.
He's
That
Section
could work,
33. We'll call it Section 33. It's a new
47.
updated version. So
47. Yeah.
There you go.
okay. Okay. Anything else on the president here?
We found out she has a relationship. Thought that was interesting.
Family and partner.
Her partner's on the moon. On the moon, right?
Yeah, near Earth.
So interesting.
So with this, okay, so I don't know. This is one of the things that really super annoyed me here. So the final message and whatnot, like I'm just super rolled my eyes that of course it's Navarre and Earth that's in danger at the end of this episode.
Well,
right?
yeah.
Because it's that old chestnut. It's that old chestnut that we always got to go to, right? Because that's always what it is. So, I don't know. Like, so even when we get to this, like this whole episode, I'm like, okay, enough with this stuff already. Enough with this, right? I don't know.
You have to give people a reason to care.
Yeah. And that's the frustrating thing. If you have to give me a reason to care, then why should I care? I don't know. Like, I don't know. It just feels it's so tired. It's such a tired trope of Star Trek that it's always Earth in danger. It's so tiring. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean I don't disagree, but what else are they going to do? I mean, it's threatening Bajor or Kronos or. I mean, then we could get some Klingons. That wouldn't be bad, but.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I get it. I get where you're coming from. I don't know what else. You know, they're going to do.
I don't know what else there's to say.
It's kind of like how every 95% of the romance movies are set in New York City. It's like, okay.
That's the only place where romance happens, though.
The only place, yes.
I think I would be okay if they had chosen Kaminar instead.
Oh, that would have been good.
Right? Because, yeah, like, we've already offed, like, Quajon, so we have a major connection to one character. But now you've got Saru, who's in a really vulnerable position and feeling some type of way about what's happening, on top of this budding relationship with Tarina, who, like, they're all kind of, like, at a state of red alert, you know? And so it's... That would have been cool, I think. But, yeah, Navarre and Earth again, I'm like, whatever.
And the reason is because it ties to Burnham, right? And everything has to tie to Burnham. Like, this would be like if we go into Picard season 2 and it'd be like, you know what? There's a bomb and it's going to destroy France.
Yes.
Like, if every season of Star Trek Picard, France was in danger. Like, I don't know. It would just be ridiculous. I don't know.
I mean, hey, Jack Bauer in L.A. got hit, like, what, 8 times before they moved to New York? And then D.C.? Or is it the other way around? But, yeah, no, I get it, though. For 4 seasons in a row, where there's, like, our home is in peril. Yeah.
But even in 24, it like the whole of LA was not in danger every season.
That's true.
Right? Like, you know, like it the stakes that some, like season 6, a bomb went off, right? Like in that, and that they did that so they could escalate everything. And it's like, okay, season 6, it's time to do something crazy like that, you know? So, but even in like in season 8, it wasn't all of New York that was like in danger. It was the UN building, right? That was the one that was in danger and whatnot. Right. And it went on beyond that and whatnot. So, like, I don't know. So,
think of the Federation as the entirety of LA, and Earth and Navarre were the places where the bomb went off. To use your 24 analogy.
Right, but that happened in one season of 24, right? So I don't. Anyways, it's not relevant. It's not. I don't know. Like,
no.
Yeah, it's just. Of course, it is because it ties back to Burnham. So
it's where the seat of government is.
Right.
You know.
Is it though? Is the government is not there though?
Oh, you're right. It's not.
Oh no, you're right.
Like they're not there anymore.
But Ndoye is on the ship because she's the Earth ambassador. So
but they're not back in.
And then you've got Tarina, so Tarina and Navarre, and then, but then the whole crew is from Earth, even though Earth is not part of the Federation at the moment. Like, so I guess it was more about the crew connection rather than the. And I think that's why they had that part later on when they were like cutting it down to the wire, trying to get into that spatial bubble where they were all like trying to distract each other with like their favorite things from Earth. But again, they didn't even know that Earth was in danger yet at that point.
Yeah, it would have been nice if like Saru had popped up with that and been like, "I'm gonna go to the swamps where my house used to be," or something.
Yeah. Like, what's Linus gonna do? Right, because he was on the bridge.
Linus had a line this week, guys.
Yeah, that was
sorry,
good.
He's got to celebrate that.
I love it. Need more Linus.
So, okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, let's jump into Adira returning. So we got Adira back this episode. So what's going on with Gray? So Gray's just behind. Like, is things okay there? I got the impression things aren't okay between them. Is that just me reading into it or what?
No, it seems like things are fine. I know Gray is. I mean, Gray's just doing Trill things, and if anything, I think Adira is doing a good job of burying like the stress involved of being away and going on a super perilous mission. I mean, you have Stamets being the hype man the entire time, but they did touch on that a little bit when they were discussing. It was after they crossed through, and Stamets was like, "Hey, I'm going to be your space dad," like confirmed.
Yeah,
you know.
So I wasn't doing that already.
Right. But no, they did a good job of stating that, like, I can, the distance isn't an issue. I'll just tell Gray when I get back, and it's fine. So they're maturing in a way. At least I think that's what they're trying to show, is that Adira being a person that didn't have a lot of relationships outside of Gray prior to becoming part of the crew, right? They seemed pretty isolated, at least in season 3. So
there's the issue of distance, and as much as anybody might say, "Oh yeah, it'll be okay, not a big deal," blah blah blah, there's still the practicality of it. And I think they're concerned that Gray is going to become so wrapped up in what's going on in Trill and his new life that they'll end up being pushed aside, not because Gray doesn't love them, not because Gray doesn't want to have a life with Adira, but just because of changes in them, in both of them. Not the end of every relationship is because they start to hate each other or something. Sometimes it's just, we went in different directions. And I think there's some fear of that.
Could be. Yeah, I don't know, just the way that Adira delivered the lines, I got the impression that there was something going on there that was kind of under the words, like in the subtext or whatnot. So
if they are concerned about losing Gray to a career or distance, you don't... It's a tough thing to be like, "Oh yeah, my partner is doing this awesome thing and they're so happy with it, but I don't like it because they're far away." You don't do that. It's true. It might be true, but it's not nice, and it doesn't look nice in front of other people. So maybe that's just a little bit of that coming through.
Mm-hmm. And thinking practically about what people tend to do in those situations is bury yourself in your work, right? To stay distracted, and that seems very much that even in the brief parts we got of Adira in this episode, they were working the whole time, right? Until Stamets pulled them aside and said, like, hey, let's debrief, let's chat about this. So.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's jump on to Saru and Tarina. So Saru finally, stepped up to say something, but only because he thought he was going to die.
Talk
so
about
that's
tropes.
kind of interesting.
I mean, really.
Yes. So I thought it was good that I was wondering about that, because when the president said that we're waiting for the representative from Navarre, I'm like, geez, are we going to see Burnham's mom again? That was my first thought. So I'm glad it didn't turn into that. But when the Navarre representative wasn't coming, I'm like, well, then Tarina's here. So would Tarina end up on there? And they didn't really address it until all of a sudden Tarina just showed up on the ship. And I'm like, well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
They would still like to have a representative from Navarre there. So, Caleb, have you been shipping Saru and Tarina?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm loving this entire 90s rom-com awkwardness vibe that's going on. It's charming. I do like them together. I'm happy for Saru, even though actually where it gives a chance to shine is Culber providing assistance and moral support in a way outside of a counseling session. He's being the cheerleader in this case for Saru, and hey, this is awkward. This is supposed to be what it is. Like, this is okay. Like, you're gonna be fine. So I like that a lot. It gave Culber something to shine with this episode. I mean, he's been shining all season for me, but he wasn't really a focus in this episode at all, other than that brief little scene.
You mentioned the 90s rom-com thing. I'm glad that we got Saru to say something before we got Tarina to get really mad at him and anger sleep with somebody else, and then 3 seasons later they would be having an argument and then just kiss each other and make up. So I'm glad that we didn't get to that point.
That episode of Friends was on last night, and I fell asleep with that on. So yeah, thank you.
I was about to say they were on a break. Yeah,
they were on a break. Okay.
Or they never started, or they never started. So, anyway.
Yeah, and then they have a kid together randomly 3 years later. Yeah.
Hey, I need you to take my 9:15 appointment because it's 9:30 and I'm not there. Click. Bye.
Yes. Chrissy, what did you think of this? So Saru saying, you know what? I only said it because I thought that Tarina was not going to be there and I wouldn't be seeing her every day.
I think that depended on the lack of reaction from her. She very, if you can say a Vulcan does something happily, she was really happy to get interrupted at that moment and be like, oh, I have work. Bye. This urgent thing needs my attention right now. And I can't even say, yes or no. And we'll talk about it later. And then it's like it never happened when they sit down. She asked him to sit with him. She asked him to sit with her in the bar. Do we have a name for the bar?
Ooh, that's
1031 forward.
Okay, 1031 forward. Yeah, and so I do understand where Saru's coming from, because he was, for all intents and purposes, he was rejected. And he wasn't, but he was. And then to see her there, knowing that, okay, because I'm going to bet he's assuming it's all over. Like, if she's not interested in more than that, then we cannot deal with each other anymore. Because again, we're going off of what I said last week. We're dealing with somebody who's like a teenager in their first relationship and don't know how to work through it. So I think he's assuming worst case scenario, and now I have to work with my would-be ex.
Well, last week too, you have this moment where she asked him, I think it was off screen, to have dinner together, and he didn't know how to respond. So I'm wondering if this is kind of playing off of that too. It's like, well, she did ask first, and then now she's kind of like, Well, not make you wait it out, a little
Oh.
suspense, kind of deal.
I didn't even go
That
there.
doesn't seem very logical, though.
It doesn't, but have you noticed Tarina seems a bit more emotional than, like, she's been growing a little more emotional as goes for a Vulcan. I like, she's not so straight-laced like some of the other ones around her, and I think we're supposed to see a little bit of Romulan influence maybe there.
Right.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think we got the Romulan influence. I think that when we heard last season, I think it was, where they're like, oh, we don't think in such boxed-in terms of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, right, when they made that reference last year. I think we're supposed to interpret, like, Vulcans aren't exactly the Vulcans that we knew 900 years ago.
Or the ones that
technically
are
they're
odd.
Yeah, technically they're not even Vulcans anymore. They're Navarans, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they are embracing that identity, it would make sense that they start to permeate some of those characteristics between the two. For sure.
That would be an interesting story point somewhere along the line, because I bet there's the equivalent of the Vulcan extremists that we met in the first season on Navarre, who are random thought. Okay.
Yeah, well, when we saw in Unification 3, I assumed that some of those people in the council would have been part of that extremist group, right? So,
Yeah.
what if Tarina's not even interested at all, and we have just been misinterpreting it, and so has Saru? What if we find that out, where she's just like, well, I know, I just wanted to be friends.
That's an interesting way to go.
We end up with Saru not actually getting anything.
I wouldn't like that at all.
That
would be sad.
So going back to the core premise of the show being one in which we deal with trauma and how we process trauma, Saru's already been through a lot of trauma. I don't think they would want to traumatize him further at this point, because he already, like, his entire season 1 arc and part of season 2 was dealing with this pending death of his, right? Because he was going to be culled, and now this is like the post what is it?
Vahari.
Vahari, there we go, thank you. Post Vahari, he's an entirely new person, and then he gets thrown in the future and discovers that the reason the burn happened is because of someone of his species. Like, there's got to be a lot of weight involved there. I think this is really intended to be just something happy for him in the long run, because he needs a little bit of happiness. He doesn't discuss his feelings a whole lot, at least in regards to that, but he's got to be feeling it. Like, after 3 seasons of just getting whipped around,
Yeah.
Okay, now, last one here, getting through the barrier. So, I realize that this part may not be as vivid and bright as normal. Colors might be a little bit faded as we talk about this part of the podcast here, but let's talk about getting through the barrier. Caleb.
I loved this part. I thought, one, just the visuals. Like, okay, I have like a 48-inch TV. I just want to, like, get a projector and just, like, watch this thing, like, on a big, massive wall in the dark somewhere. Like, it was beautiful. I liked all the science and technobabble we got with. I liked what we had with the vacuum state fluctuations and how the spatial cells achieved equilibrium. And that's why you're able to differentiate between which ones were safe and weren't in terms of their reaction to antimatter. I thought that was a really cool concept. Even earlier on, when Tarka is describing, like, well, how do you get through the barrier? Tarka does a lot of the front loading with, what is it we're actually doing from a science standpoint in this episode? And it's from his perspective instead of Discovery's perspective, but they're doing the exact same thing. So I thought that kind of framing was really cool. I think the tension involved felt very similar to Stormy Weather when they were in the void. But I think I liked the Galactic Barrier tension a little bit more than how it went down in Stormy Weather. I don't know. What was your opinion on Stormy Weather's void compared to this? Or do you think they're similar or dissimilar?
I don't, like, I didn't really consider it compared to the Stormy Weather one here, but I definitely loved this part of the episode. So this part was fun, and it felt very Trek. It felt like, okay, how do we do some weird sci-fi solution and sci-fi way to get through this area? So I did love that. I thought this was pretty cool. I thought the color fading, whatnot, was kind of silly, but I mean, like, whatever. I don't know. It just was unnecessary, but whatever. I don't know. But I really enjoyed it, and I thought the idea of going from these pockets was really an intriguing way to get through to the other side. So I liked it a lot.
I'm going to be the voice of dislike here.
Hey, no negativity on this podcast. I've had enough of that from me all episode,
right.
okay?
Okay. In and of itself, it was cool looking. The visuals were great. I love the technobabble, all of that. Why does the mycelial network not exist outside the galaxy?
That I do have a question about. Because it seemed like it extended as far as you could possibly go. And even, like, I know the novels aren't canon, but even in, like, Dead Endless, it even stretches multiple universes, right? Like, you can cross different quantum states even. So, yeah, why does it have an edge? Is it just the negative? Is it the antimatter, like the buildup of negative energy particles that causes it to break down, like, right at the barrier? And then do we have the network again on the other side of the barrier? Like, is it just like a toll road you have to get through? I don't know.
Okay, and there's the other thing that bothered me too. Okay, when we see the barrier, it's a big line, it's a wide line, which gives the impression that it can be flown below or flown above, and it's that thing with Trek where it's always like, we forget that space is three-dimensional. If they had made it look like a shell in front of them, I think that would have been better. Because it did give the impression that you could just go, oh, like, okay, if we go z-axis 90 degrees, then we can get through it.
And I'm wondering if that's just because the Galactic Barrier was also in Where No Man Has Gone Before, right? And so that was also a line. Maybe they're just trying to keep it consistent, but that's kind of a not great reason.
Like
that's
how
I boil it down. It's just like the Klingons. So I don't know. It didn't bother me that it didn't.
It felt fillery to me. It felt like this, you could, again, like we were saying before, you could take these 2 episodes or the 2 prior, make them into 1 episode, and if they had been able to jump across the Galactic Barrier with the spore drive, it just would have been like, okay, we're here, next, and it would have been 20 minutes shorter. So, yeah.
Right. That's exactly what it is. I think they had to fill their 13-episode time slot, the 13-episode requirement, and so, like, how do you do it? There is not 13 episodes worth of material in this season. There's absolutely not. This is being dragged out. So which is why I'm so looking forward to next season with 10 episodes only. They've already announced that, so I don't know. I agree with you, though. I didn't mind it because I enjoyed it. I like the Galactic Barrier. It's from my favorite episode of TOS. But I absolutely agree that they should have just been able to jump over it. But they decided this episode that they can't do that. So, because they never told us that it did go over that, right? So that was you assumed too much, Chrissy.
Well, they could do some story building with this, because maybe our galaxy is the only one with a mycelial network.
Okay, so before we move to Canon Connections, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you'd like to address, Caleb?
I just liked at the very end when Rillick and Burnham are debriefing, and this line from Burnham that leaders are not rattled by uncertainty with overwhelming odds, and why it was important for the message to come from Rillick and not Burnham with the composition of who was on board. I thought that was just felt very Star Trek to me. I mean, the whole thing this season, at least with Burnham, is that we're exploring her captaincy, right, and how she acts in a leadership role, and I think she's been very successful, at least in that so far this season, and it was cool to just have that little leadership tie-in at the end for why those decisions were being made.
That allowed for an interesting political moment too, because when she makes the comment, "You're my president too," you do get the impression that they are at odds. You don't just get the impression for a lot of it, but that doesn't necessarily follow to the political. The whole of like, oh well, I voted for you, which is basically what she's saying, and would continue to vote for you. And I think that's important because that removes her as a potential political rival. Not that I think that Burnham wants to be president of the Federation or anything like that, but that doesn't mean that Rillick doesn't consider that to be a possibility.
And it almost goes back to what they were talking about in Kobayashi Maru when Rillick said she was seeking a captain for this other ship that would be the new Spore Drive test ship, right? Mm-hmm. And how she told Burnham she wasn't ready. And I'm wondering if, not that they're going to move her off Discovery, but I'm wondering if there's some sort of build that might be related to that as well. Like they have to get on each other's good graces before any sort of progress can be made long term with them.
Yeah.
This whole relationship has felt a little odd to me with the two of these two, because it's like I can't picture any of our other captains being in this such long term kind of like Cold War conflict with somebody else, So it felt a little bit odd to me, this episode here, but where they're building on what's come before, so.
Well, I mean, this is book, so not canon, but you've got Jellicoe and Nechayev in the books, so that was what it made me think of. But right, I don't think we've seen that on screen yet.
No.
Other than actually an Enterprise. Well, I mean, I guess you had Saval and Archer, but they weren't even on the same side. It was just like that was always a little adversarial to start.
No, in no other series is everybody this closely connected.
That's true. Yeah.
The none of the other series is you're not interacting with the president of the Federation on a regular basis because you're all out on this star base in the middle of nowhere. So, I think that makes a big difference.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Chrissy, you want to talk about? Anything we missed?
I don't think so. I'm sure I'll think of something in an hour, but
In an hour? You didn't want to mention? Because I certainly did, because it was another thing that annoyed me, is you mentioned at a previous episode, at what point are we just going to get to 40 minutes in the episode when we have the intro?
Oh, God, yes.
Song?
It was.
I wrote that down, the long cold opens.
15 minutes this time.
1/3 of the episode was done by the time we got to the end of the theme song.
Yeah.
A third of it was done.
And that's not the first time they've done that this season. Yeah,
it's the longest one.
No,
though.
it's not. It's not.
Is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long 14 minutes, and then the theme song started. I checked my Crave thing there.
Was Stormy Weather the other really long one?
There was another one that was really long. It was a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
So I think it was one when we got back. So, so the only other thing I want to talk about is just, I don't know, it's nothing. I just want to call it out. So I didn't like Kovach's big long monologue at the beginning. Like when he's like, oh, Vulcan watched for 100 years before we had first contact with Earth, and now we only have 24 hours before we do this. And it's like, it is not even close to the same thing, right? These are not at all the same. Like, Vulcan is trying to have first contact with a they're watching a species that doesn't have warp technology, versus you're reaching out to somebody that's going to destroy your frickin' galaxy. Like, I don't even know, like, why are you making that comparison? It's not even close to the same thing. That is bad writing. That doesn't make any sense. You know what? Like, I'm going to go have dinner with my friends, but you know what? I just had breakfast last month before I went to work. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. That sentence does not make sense.
I'm going to be a little contrary to that. I think it made sense in a tie-in back to But to Connect, where even though they voted in favor of first contact, there was still a pretty sizable split between delegates and what they, were feeling about whether to attack or to make first contact. And so I think it was kind of a way to recenter and re-regulate everyone with a different kind of approach. And the whole confirmation bias thing is where that was really driving home. So I think that there was purpose in it. I just would have liked if there had been more people there besides just the delegates that all ended up going on the ship anyway, Yeah.
I think this might be giving the audience an opportunity to consider that we're not going to run into a bipedal forehead of the week here. Talking about how we're used to dealing with people, other species that we have some commonalities with. Less to do with what Kovach was saying, but that allowed the other guy whose name escapes me, the one who was explaining confirmation bias, to make that point.
Astrolinguist. Yeah, I forget his name.
And I don't remember. But so I think that's a big thing, and maybe we will find out that 10C is, I don't know, a gaseous blob, and they're just that's who they are, because we haven't really dealt with a lot of non-humanoid species. Like, what was it, Marina Sirtis, who said we'll have more non-humanoid species when we have non-humanoid actors? So
yeah,
wow, it's a dichoronium cloud, everybody. We're gonna get obsessed with this.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from, totally, but
yeah. So my final thought is, with the Deep Space Nine novel verse, we had so many times where they were like, you know what, we need the novels to jump ahead 3 years to get caught up with the other books, and we had so many stories that never got finished off. I would be so content if we had no more episodes this season, and they just left this, and we just moved on to season 5. We never heard of 10C or this ever again, and in just some reference, passing comment, they're like, remember that time when we did that thing with 10C and we saved everything? I would be so happy if that happened right now, and that's my final thoughts on the episode. I'm so glad Star Trek Picard is coming next week.
That's how Mulder and Scully got back from Antarctica.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll just not address it, and I'm content with that. So,
Okay.
That's fair. I'm wondering long term if now that we are in the Galactic Barrier, if the new mission after this season is how do we find an easier way to cross, and that the Galactic Barrier becomes the new Gamma Quadrant or Delta Quadrant or whatever that we're trying to explore next. I know at least don't the Voyager books end up in Out of the Galaxy?
They do go past.
Yeah.
I haven't read them yet, but I knew that was a large plot point at some point. So
Yeah.
Something different.
We could see Janeway and Chakotay and crew. Everybody except for B'Elanna Torres and Tom Paris.
Yeah.
So we could.
And
We'll encounter a live action protostar, and the Prodigy wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff has been going over thousands and thousands of years.
Yes.
So, anywho, any canon connections you want to bring up? We've been talking about Where No Man's Gone before, over and over this episode. Anything else you guys caught, Caleb?
Just all the different communicators that were there.
Oh, yeah, that was a
we
cool
saw we saw the Picard badge. We saw the one from the communicator from Enterprise, I think, and we saw. Wasn't it from the arena or the cage, that big long cylindrical one? I think it might have been Arena when he was trying to talk to the Gorn.
Oh,
Is that
yes.
what it was?
Yeah.
And then then they showed one that looked like a TOS communicator, but the gold plate looked a little bit different. And so a lot of people have been speculating it might be the Strange New Worlds communicator update coming a little early.
Probably just one of
teaser.
those Bluetooth ones you can buy.
Yeah.
Subtle
that was
advertisement.
cool. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I just like it's not really a canon connection, but the one shot of Discovery when they're getting the shield upgrades in the space dock, and it's cool to see just another ship in space dock doing its thing.
Yeah.
Putting that to good use from earlier in the season.
Caleb, thank you so much for joining us today and tolerating me and my nonsense for an hour and 15 minutes or however long we've been talking right now. I really, truly appreciate you not hanging up on me an hour ago. It's wonderful.
It's all good. I knew these vacuum state fluctuations would be happening. I upgraded my antimatter shields. We're all good, man.
Where can listeners find you online? And is there anything you're working on that you want to plug while you're here?
So I'm on Twitter at RogueMogue, RogueMoGh. Not really working on anything at the moment, but I've enjoyed podcasting and guesting on a lot of podcasts. So at some point, I'm probably going to start my own. It's been something I've been thinking about. So haven't officially.
It's going to be a 24 podcast?
No, it'll still be a Star Trek one, but still kind of working on early preliminary stuff there. So no announcements yet, but I'll be around guesting wherever the Star Trek podcasts are. So
Awesome.
Well, I will let you know that on episode 100 of Warp 5 over on Trek FM, we interviewed Manny Koto, and we did. Mike Schindler had a theory that Manny Koto was okay with, and that determination was that 24 takes place in the mirror universe.
nice.
So so you
I
could
like
tie that
that.
into Star Trek if you
I
wanted
love
to.
that. I love that.
Yeah. So there you go. Anyways, excellent. Awesome. Chrissy, where can people find you when you're not trying to ignore Saru?
Ooh. In addition to here on Infinite Diversity, you can find me on History with the Szilagys here on the UFP Network. That's a twice-weekly history podcast I do with my partner, Jason. We've been talking a bit about Ukraine lately for obvious reasons, and also last week he did one on the Germans taking the Sudetenland, which is more relevant than we'd like it to be. So there's some maybe heavier connections there to current events than we often do. And I'm happy to chat about our shows in the Federation Council Chambers on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at the Goddess Livia, that's TheGoddessLivia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics. Brandon, where can people find you when you're not looking for ways to get through the barrier in bubbles?
You can find me over on the Fandom Podcast Network with a show called Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast. This week we'll be covering Marnie, which was an interesting revisit. I haven't seen that one in about 15 years, so that was nice to revisit that film. So that'll be out this Friday. And then you can find me here on the network with a show called Franchise Fatigue, which is all about movies, remakes, and sequels. And we just released our episode, I think it was on Scream 4. So coming up next week will be our episode on Scream 2022. Here on the network, we have a few other shows on the United Federation of Podcasts. We have All Good Things, where Amy Nelson and Mark White talk all Star Trek all the time. And you can join Rhea Papageorgiou, Kevin Scharf, and Amy Nelson, and Joe Keegan discussing all TNG all the time on board the Galaxy class. Who wouldn't want to be a kid again? Join Chris Tribuzio, Patrick Devlin, and Casey Pettitt as they discuss all things under the Disney umbrellas with Mickey's Marvels. And take a stroll through Star City and talk all things that make Arrow Arrow with Lance Laster and Kevon Chillis on Always Hold On to Arrow. And last but not least, we have Sasquatch with Ken Tripp and Zach Moore, taking a fun and lighthearted look at the cultural phenomenon of Bigfoot. Thank you very much for tuning into Infinite Diversity. Thank you to our executive producers, Ken Tripp, Tony Robinson, and Zach Moore. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Tony Robinson for the awesome show art. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and please subscribe. If you want to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at UFP Earth, or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any of all of the UFP podcasts in our Facebook group called the Federation Council Chambers, or you can email us at infinitediversity@UFP Earth. On the next episode, we'll be talking about the 11th episode of Star Trek Discovery. We will be releasing our Discovery episode coverage before we do our Picard one, but they will be both dropping in separate episodes throughout the week for the next 3 weeks, I guess. Yeah. So, yes, but it'll be a lot of fun. I don't think we have a title for that one yet. So
not as of a couple hours ago.
Okay. Until then, peace and long life.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.